I want to thank you for joining me once again out here in the old dusty workshop. I'm very excited today to continue working on the Wakizashi. Today I am going to get the blade all ground and heat treated, and I'm also going to start work on some of the fittings. For the Habaki I have chosen a nice piece of Damascus, and for the guard I'm going to use a little piece of mokume that I made in a previous video. So I'm going to go ahead and jump on the grinder and get this blade all ready to be heat treated. But before we get started, I just wanted to mention that I do have a Kickstarter campaign going right now for a couple different styles of my knives. I have the folding knife right here. This is the Precipice. It is an all-metal design with as few moving parts as possible for maximum durability. And it is available on my Kickstarter link down below. And I'm also offering the updated version of my bone picker. It has a built-in bottle opener in the handle, nice stone wash. It really just looks and feels wonderful. So if you're interested in supporting my Kickstarter, the link is down below, as well as the link for my social media. So if you want to take a look and see what I have for sale this week, you can check it out there. I've done the rough flat grinding on this. I now have it flat enough to where I can start grinding in the bevels and get everything all flat, straight, and true. So I'm going to jump on the grinder and make even more sparks. The bevels have been rough ground with the Wakizashi. And I do not grind the forward bevel in until after the heat treat. I just leave this nice and thick so that I don't overheat the tip during the heat treat, and it also allows me to more easily straighten the blade if there's any kind of warps. So that'll get ground in after the heat treat, but this is perfectly ready for some clay. So I have the clay done here, and that should create a really cool Hamon pattern. I'm gonna let this cure for a little while, and then it will be time to throw this into the even heat oven and quench in Parks 50. Now I have here one heat-treated Wakizashi. Now, during the quench, it did lose a little bit of its curvature. And it still has some nice curve to it. But I probably will grind it just a little bit to get the curvature right where I want it. And that's just because I don't want to heat treat it again. The Hamon on here should just look amazing, and so I don't want to redo that. I don't want to put through the stresses of another heat treat unless necessary. So I will grind in a little bit more curvature, but I am very, very pleased with how that went. And this has been tempered twice. Well, it is straight enough to just grind any little imperfections out. On this Wakizashi, I am going to be grinding the spine into a point as well. It's not going to be sharpened, but it's not going to be, square like it is now. So I am going to go ahead and get on the grinder. I'm going to flat grind the flat areas. I'm going to grind the spine and grind the bevels. So the blade has been rough ground now. It's only at 60 grit. I will take it all the way up to 400 before I hand sand it. Now this is going to be the guard. It's some nickel silver mokume that I made in a previous video. And then for the Habaki, I'm going to be using this piece of bold pattern Damascus. And I do need to forge this out just a little bit. I need about a ½ inch more length to wrap it around the blade how I want. So now I'm going to fire up the forge and forge that out. I am just really, really happy with that grind. I cannot wait to hand sand this. It's going to look amazing. So I have it roughly forged around the tang of the blade. I'm going to clean up the outside first, and then I will do some file work to get it to fit up perfectly. Alright, so I've cleaned up the Habaki here. And I got a decent profile of the blade forged into it. I will now take these diamond files, and I use them to get into really hard to reach places like this. And they're a little slower than a normal file, but they really eat through any of that hard scale that's on the inside. And with some patience, they work beautifully. So I'm going to work on getting this fit up as close to the blade as I can. Just going to be a little more difficult just because of exactly the profile of the blade. I have 3 different angles. I have the main bevel angle, I have the flat spot, and then I have the spine angle. So I'm going to go ahead and start working and get this filed in as close as I possibly can. And that's just enough to hold kind of everything flush and square while I throw this back in the forge and forge weld this edge into one solid piece of steel. Alright, so I have the Habaki all closed up here. I'm going to fit up to there. I'm quite happy with where it's sitting on the blade right now. I still have to sand this up to 400 grit, so it is going to get a little bit thinner. And once I get that done, this should fit up perfectly. Now I am going to clean this up a little bit, and then I'm going to heat treat it. I will temper it back to where it's not very hard. But I just want to heat treat it so I get the maximum amount of contrast out of the steels in the Damascus here. Alright, that is where I'm going to call this episode. It has been such an amazing time making this blade. I'm very pleased with the grind. Those grind lines just come together so nicely at the tip. So, I want to thank you for watching today. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. It really helps me to continue building the channel and making all of these awesome projects for you guys. So I'm very grateful for that. I do have a Kickstarter campaign going right now for a folding knife, as well as an updated version of my bone pickers. You can check that out. The link will be down below. So I want to thank you one last time for watching me be a crazy wild man out here in the shop making all sorts of dust and sparks. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and take it easy.